This segment of the Safer Dave Show is sponsored by 710cleaner.com. Is it time to clean the resin out of your glass? We'll do it in just minutes with 710 Cleaner. Find out more at 710cleaner.com. Again, that's 710cleaner.com. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Safer Dave Show at SaferArizona.com, Arizona's cannabis legalization activist webcasting network. I'm your host, Dave Wisniewski. Today is Friday, November 27th, 2015, also known as Black Friday, but we're not going to talk about that today. Today, we're going to tell you what's coming up in the Arizona cannabis legalization movement. We've got the updates of the two competing campaigns to legalize cannabis in Arizona. We're going to be talking about a protest at the Phoenix, Arizona Capitol building in the beginning of January. Then, Tom Dean is going to be going over Arizona's new medical marijuana DUI laws so we can kind of understand them a little bit better. Then, after that, rude dispensaries. We got a couple of cases of some dispensaries that are supporting the opposing opposition that are just downright rude to their patients that support Arizonans for mindful regulation. So, without further ado, let's go on with these updates here in Arizona. I'm not gonna go ahead and speak for Arizonans for mindful regulation today because I went ahead and interviewed Jason Madar. He is the campaign manager of Arizonans for mindful regulation. So I'm going to go ahead and let him explain what's going on in the latest and greatest on their side. And then on the other side, we have the Marijuana Policy Project. They're looking at about 110,000 signatures. Yeah, 110,000 signatures. And here's Jason Madar with AZFMR Update.
Hello, my name is Jason Madar. I'm the campaign manager for the AZFMR campaign to legalize and regulate marijuana. We are actively collecting signatures in Arizona to get our initiative on the 2016 ballot. We are currently approaching 50,000 signatures for our campaign and going strong. We've got until July 7th of 2016 to collect 150,000 signatures in order to get on the ballot. So we believe we're well on our way. We've got 125 volunteers currently throughout the state who are collecting signatures on a volunteer basis. So we've really got a lot of support on the ground. We've got a lot of great volunteers. We've got numerous businesses throughout the state of Arizona, smoke shops, hydro stores, and even some of the good medical marijuana dispensaries who are helping us by collecting signatures to also add to our tally here. So we're very fortunate to have a good list of volunteers. We've got a new campaign coming up here. It's the Sign Today to Save MMJ campaign. One of the big selling points of our initiative, and there's a lot of selling points, but one of the big selling points is that the AZFMR initiative keeps the medical marijuana program safe. It keeps the medical marijuana program with the Department of Health Services. So any patient rights that a patient has today remain intact once our initiative is passed. Now, for comparison's sake, MPP's initiative would take the medical marijuana program and give it to the new Department of Marijuana Licenses and Control, which would be run in part by the existing medical marijuana dispensary owners. So the obvious concern is that those dispensary owners would alter the medical marijuana program in their favor at the cost of patient rights being sacrificed. And so, of course, again, one of the big selling points for our campaign is that we keep that medical marijuana program safe. There are currently 85,000 patients in Arizona, and all of those 85,000 patients are relying on our AZFMR initiative to keep their patient rights intact. And of course, Arizona recognizes medical marijuana recommendations from other states as well. So those medical marijuana patients who are visiting Arizona are also relying on the AZFMR initiative in order to protect medical marijuana patient rights. And so we're very excited about this campaign. We're pushing out to try and reach literally all 85,000 patients here in Arizona to get the word out. And so, of course, my message to everybody is that if you are a patient, statistics tell us that each marijuana consumer knows at least 5 other marijuana consumers. So, put simply, we just want you to get the word out. If you have medical marijuana patients who are family members, friends, please let them know about our initiative and let them know about our efforts to keep their patient rights intact and our efforts to keep the medical marijuana program safe.
Right. 50,000 signatures. That's about a third of what we need. We need more volunteers. We need some help getting these signatures. We need your help to get on the ballot. It looks like we are going strong. We are motivated and ready to rock. But we could always have some improvement. We always need some more volunteers. So let's all rally up, get some petitions, get some stuff signed, get Arizonans for mindful regulation on the 2016 election ballot. Remember, both initiatives, they can both make the ballot, you can vote for both of them, and they can both pass. Whichever one gets the most votes gets precedence in any conflicting language. So we want to have ours get more votes than theirs pretty much, so we can have our consumer protections. So, moving forward, we gotta let you guys know something. There are a couple of ways we could change the law here in Arizona. One way is that ballot initiative, what we're doing. But the other way, the way we're supposed to change our laws here in Arizona, is through our elected officials. We have people we elect to change our laws for us. They are representatives, they are senators. Our state, the state of Arizona, is run by just 90 people. These senators, these representatives, only 90 people. And they could change laws during a time period called the legislative session. The very first day of the legislative session of 2016 is Monday, January 11th. So we're going to be out there en masse. We're going to be protesting cannabis prohibition and rallying for the legalization. We got to let our elected officials know that we mean business and we want them to end cannabis prohibition. We don't need to wait until 2016 in November. We can actually legalize cannabis before that. We rally we lobby our elected officials, and we let them know we need to end cannabis prohibition, and they can submit bills, and then we support those bills, and they go through the system, and then they pass and become law. Last year we had Mark Cardenas put in a legalization bill, but it got just to the Judiciary Committee, and it ended up just dying because no one sought into it. There wasn't enough support, and no one looked at it, so they just let it fall off and die, and it never passed anywhere. So if we get cannabis legislation in our legislators' offices this legislative session, we need to show support for that bill. We need to be calling our elected officials and letting them know. So here's some footage of last year's protest. It was pretty awesome. So you guys can just kind of get an idea. Remember, make your signs, get your suits on or whatever you want to wear. Here it is, last year.
Duty in the Army in South Korea. I started it as a protest group. All I wanted to do was send shirts to people that said marijuana is safer than alcohol and have them wear this shirt and then post pictures of it on the internet so we can help spread this message.
Lady, how are you? Maybe not as awesome as you.
See, what's going on here is we've been lied to about cannabis for nearly 100 years. Not only is marijuana safer than alcohol, tobacco, and pharmaceuticals, but it has a plethora of medical benefits. And right now we are arresting non-violent, responsible human beings for making the safer choice to use marijuana as opposed to alcohol, tobacco, and pharmaceuticals. We need to end the war on marijuana now. Woo! Well, today is the first day of the legislative session in the state of Arizona. It's kind of like the first day of school where all of our elected officials are going to kind of start the first day of lawmaking for the year. And we want our elected officials to know that we are done with cannabis prohibition. It was wrong to do it in the first place, and it's a sin to keep arresting people for making the safer choice. And so we're here in support of ending the war on marijuana. And we have legislators looking to put in bills in the near future to end the war on marijuana, and we want to let them know that we support that cause and that we want to do it the right way. And the right way includes giving us the proper rights, which includes our grow rights, among many other things. You can go ahead and see these statistics of how many people have died at justice.gov. The DEA even puts out on their website that no reports of an overdose exist. There's no such thing as a marijuana overdose. But I'll tell you, alcohol kills 80,000 people a year, and tobacco kills 440,000 people a year. So just put in comparison, marijuana is safer than tobacco and alcohol.
Free the weed!
Woo! Cool, high five. Good job, Dave! That was fun.
I'm going to stand between the ends. You want to be sure that shot gets taken?
Absolutely.
Call me Dave, was new skating with the brother coming to me from the battle of the blacks. Do you see him here when I'm stuff coming from the top? How's it going, man? Thanks for coming out. I like your cape. Thanks, bro.
Am I going to show up on a blog now?
You might.
Maybe.
Now you will.
CBS News 5, man.
CBS News 5. We film the news here at Safer Arizona. And the police.
Running from my own self-creation like a bigger thing the world is like. To this kind without this in mind, must I remind you? You may ask me a couple of questions.
First of all, could you just say and spell your name?
Okay then. Right now we are protesting cannabis prohibition. Well, today is the first day of the legislative session here in Arizona. It's kind of like the first day of school of lawmaking. All the legislators come here, and then this starts their legislative session. Well, we have legislators looking to put bills in for the decriminalization of marijuana, the legalization of marijuana, as well as the legalization of industrial hemp. And we want to come out here and show them we support the legalization of marijuana. We support the legalization of industrial hemp, and we want to make sure that they know that we also want them to do it correctly. We don't want them to give us a bad law and end up more oppressed than we are right now.
Yeah, and there was actually a half-naked lady that came out. She calls herself Goddess Anonymous. She had pretty much just like a swimsuit on, and then like pot leaves painted all over her mostly naked body. It was kind of interesting, and she ended up making the newspaper, but I don't know if she's going to be here again this time, but yeah, we're going to try to dress as appropriate as possible. I'm not sure what I'm going to be wearing this time, but pretty awesome. Come on down to the Phoenix, Arizona Capitol building, January 11th, 2016, 8 a.m. That is 1700 West Washington, Phoenix, Arizona, 85007. Now, some things have changed. Recently here in Arizona, there's been some court cases that dictate how our police officers and judges are now going to be calling DUI shots here in Arizona. So our medical marijuana DUI law changed slightly, and we've got cannabis defense attorney Tom Dean from attorneyforcannabis.com letting us know the updates, and he's going to explain what this new change is in our DUI law and how it affects the medical marijuana patient. This segment of the Safer Dave Show is sponsored by 710cleaner.com. Is it time to clean the resin out of your glass? We'll do it in just minutes with 710 Cleaner. Find out more at 710cleaner.com. Again, that's 710cleaner.com. From the trenches, Tom Dean, attorney for cannabis.
Hello, friends in the cannabis community. This is Tom Dean, attorney for cannabis, coming to you from the trenches. I want to talk to you today about the recent, what I consider to be a victory out of the Arizona Supreme Court in the area of DUI. This was a case that has been going on now for some time. There are actually two companion cases, one called Dara, the other called Dobson. The one that was decided is called Dara. The case started at the Mesa Municipal Court. Medical marijuana patient charged with DUI for having active THC metabolites in his system. The defense, which was raised by attorney John Tatz, was that he was a medical marijuana patient and therefore should be immune from that type of a charge. Of course, no one's ever argued that cannabis consumers should be able to drive while they're actually impaired, only that if they're not impaired, they shouldn't be convicted of DUI just for having THC in their system, especially when they have a license from the state to possess and use it. The judge at the city court, the Mesa City Court, denied that motion. It went up on appeal to the Maricopa County Superior Court, which also refused to agree with us. It was then appealed to the Arizona Court of Appeals, where we once again failed to achieve the immunity. Instead, the court agreed with the state that there was no immunity, despite a provision in the Medical Marijuana Act that clearly addressed the presence of THC metabolites in a patient's system. Basically, the provision said that a person cannot be convicted of DUI solely because of the presence of THC metabolites in his blood, and it would have been great if it ended there with a period, but the Marijuana Policy Project added some additional language which confused the situation and said as long as solely because of the presence of THC metabolites that appear in insufficient concentration to cause impairment. So it was this last part of the sentence that the Court of Appeals latched onto and said that it can't possibly apply to the DUI metabolite charge because the DUI metabolite charge in Arizona is a zero tolerance statute. There is no threshold amount or any requirement that the state demonstrate that the concentration level, the level of nanograms of THC or active THC metabolites was beyond a certain threshold. So we appealed it to the Arizona Supreme Court. The Arizona Attorneys for Criminal Justice, the defense bar in Arizona, submitted an amicus brief authored by attorney Dave Eichner, and I filed an amicus brief on behalf of NORML. We were accepted for jurisdiction at the Supreme Court. Oral arguments were on October 1st, and we just got the decision here this past Friday. And I'm happy to say that we did better than we did at the Court of Appeals. We didn't get as much as we wanted, which was immunity. We wanted the court to say that patients are immune from prosecution for driving with metabolites in their system unless the state can prove also that they were actually impaired. But we kind of got that anyhow. What the Supreme Court said was that the state doesn't have to prove the impairment. Rather, the defendant has to put on what's called an affirmative defense and prove by a preponderance of the evidence, or in other words, more likely than not, that the level of nanograms, THC nanograms, metabolites in the driver's system was insufficient to cause impairment. Sounds simple. Let me read from and it's stated quite simply by the Supreme Court. Supreme Court says that a qualified patient may be convicted of an A3 violation. A3 is a subsection that talks about metabolites. If the state proves beyond a reasonable doubt that the patient, while driving or in control of a vehicle, had marijuana or its impairing metabolite, active metabolite, in the patient's body. The patient may establish, however, an affirmative defense to such a charge by showing that his or her use was authorized by the Medical Marijuana Act, which is subject to the rebuttable presumption, don't worry about that part, and that the marijuana or its metabolite was in a concentration insufficient to cause impairment. The patient bears the burden of proof on the latter point by a preponderance of the evidence, as with any other affirmative defense. In other words, patients can prove to the jury, if they can prove to the jury that the level of active THC metabolites in their system was insufficient to cause impairment, then they win the case. But what we're not sure of is whether this is a generalized standard or is this a standard that's specific to the individual defendant. In other words, what I'm saying is, does the defendant have to prove in every case that, in general, that level, whatever the nanogram level was in their system, is insufficient, incapable of causing impairment. Because if that's the standard, if that's the test, it doesn't do us much good. You'll be hard-pressed to find an expert witness who will come in and testify with any degree of scientific certainty that any level of THC in a person's system is actually incapable of causing impairment, and that's because individuals vary so widely. You could have someone with a 3 nanogram level who has little experience with marijuana who could be impaired at that low level, but yet then have someone at 15 nanograms who's a regular user who's not going to have any impairment from that. So what we in the defense bar are going to argue is that this standard is a individual standard. In other words, there's no need for the defendant to prove that no one could be impaired by this level of THC. Rather, in this case, this defendant was not impaired. So in other words, if the state cannot prove impairment, then it ought to be relatively easy for the patient defendant to then say, well, then the levels of THC in my system must not have been sufficient to cause impairment because the state didn't prove that I was impaired. I know that's a little confusing, but that's the way that I think that we have to. This has to be. It's going to go up on appeal again to clarify this point. Probably in another couple of years, we'll be back up there. If the state gets their way, and it's a generalized standard, meaning that if the particular level of impairment could impair, or level of THC metabolite could impair anybody, if that's the test, again, be hard to find an expert witness who will testify that any level is incapable of causing impairment. And if that's the test, though, I think that the Supreme Court has almost invited a lot of jury nullifications, because I think most Arizona juries, if they find that the patient is not guilty on the A1 charge, the charge that they're impaired to the slightest degree, I think will not be apt to then conclude that the level of metabolite in their system was sufficient to cause impairment. So it's a little bit confusing, but we're going to be sorting that out over the coming months. The important thing to remember, if you're a medical marijuana patient and you are driving, you want to make sure, first of all, that you've got a copy of the glove box lawyer in your glove box in the event that a traffic stop does appear to be going in the direction of a DUI investigation. You never want to answer questions about your use of medical marijuana, and you never want to provide consent to an officer to search through your car for the presence of marijuana. You also probably want to refuse to consent to perform any field sobriety tests. These field sobriety tests are supposedly objective, but in reality are very often simply used to develop probable cause to arrest the driver and then take them down to jail and require that they submit to a blood test. So the important part is to remember that you will have the opportunity to present evidence to a jury if you're charged with DUI that the level of THC metabolites in your system was insufficient to cause impairment. That while that's not as good as immunity, it still gives us a fighting chance, and that's better than what we got from the Court of Appeals. So until next time, this is Tom Dean, attorney for Cannabis.com, coming to you from the trenches.
And we are back. If you need to get a copy of the Glove Box Lawyer, there is a link in the description. Click it, print it, sign it, put it in your glove box. If you get pulled over, hand it off. It does help. I've used it twice, and cops are like, whoa. It's pretty awesome, to be honest. But anyways, moving forward, we have, like I said, these two conflicting initiatives, Marijuana Policy Project versus Arizonans for Mindful Regulation. Well, we need to get ours on the ballot, so we like to go to places where there's a lot of people, especially a lot of patients. Patients will be more inclined to sign than someone who's probably not a patient because they're already pro-cannabis. But to be honest, it's like 50% of the people sign anyways. But so sometimes we like to go out in front of medical marijuana dispensaries, even opposing dispensaries. So one time we went in front of Arizona. No, which one was that? Yeah, Arizona. No, wait, hold on. They all have kind of similar names. Nature's AZ Medicines, that's what it was. We went outside of Nature's AZ Medicines dispensary, which supports the Marijuana Policy Project, and we were collecting signatures for the Arizonans for Mindful Regulation. They do not support our initiative. However, they brought out a big tub of water for us so we could stay hydrated and we didn't die. And they weren't like trying to kick us off. They were actually just like, if you're going to be there, here's some water kind of thing. Cool, thanks. Well, not all dispensaries are quite so courteous, even the opposing ones. So a couple things happened that really kind of, rubbed me the wrong way, but we've got a volunteer, Arizona Gregory, who went into Arizona Natural Selections. That's what I was trying to say before. The owner of Arizona Natural Selections is JP Holio. He is the chairman of the Marijuana Policy Project's Political Action Committee. So he is the opposition. Regardless, Arizona Gregory is a patient. That's a convenient dispensary location. He was trying to get a birthday deal. He was wearing a safer shirt, walking around, carrying his clipboard, getting petitions. Granted, the guy doesn't drive. He takes public transportation everywhere. So yeah, he's going to have his stuff in his hands. So he goes into a dispensary trying to get medication, but they kick him out. And it's because he's wearing his t-shirt. So I want him to tell you the story from his own point of view. And then we got also after that, Rain Baker's got a story from TrueMed Dispensary, how they were rude and pretty much harassed her till she left, trying to violate her First Amendment. So we're going to hear their stories, and then we're going to talk about what we're going to do in retaliation. It's not going to really be retaliation, but we need to let these guys know that this kind of behavior is we're not going to stand for it. We're not going to tolerate it.
Hi, I'm Arizona Gregory. I'm a volunteer with Arizonans for Mindful Regulations. I'd like to tell you about experience I had with Arizona Natural Selections. I went in on my birthday in September, found out I was banned to my previous visit there back in August. I was in the neighborhood collecting signatures at A to Z Smoke Shop at 91st Avenue in Peoria. I needed some meds. I went over to Arizona Natural Selections wearing my Safer Arizona t-shirt saying marijuana is safer than alcohol. I also had my petition board under my arm that said, "Sign here to legalize." I was respectful to the staff, met some customers, got the medication I needed, and I left the dispensary without any issues. I came back to visit their location in September on my birthday to get my birthday discount or deal that they offered, just to find out that I was no longer welcome there. I asked why, and they had a manager come out, speak to me. I requested a written format of the reasons why I was no longer welcome there. They went back to the back office. They took me outside and explained that I was no longer welcome there, that there was other dispensaries I could visit and be a patient at. I feel that this is mainly due to my political views. I was being discriminated against due to my support for AZFMR, knowing that the dispensary owner supports MPP and is on the board panel for MPP.
Yes, let them know that dispensaries are discriminating against patients just because of our political beliefs. And I want to know if your First Amendment was violated yesterday. Did they kick you off public property?
No.
Okay.
No, they wanted to though. Of course, I can't make you leave here, this public property. I'm like, that's right.
You're already set up and ready to rock and roll.
My story. My name's Rain Baker. I'm a volunteer with AZFMR, and I'm here to talk about my experience at TrueMed Dispensary yesterday, 40th Street and McDowell. It's located in Phoenix, Arizona. It's pretty frustrating. I was out for my Saturday ritual of collecting signatures on my off day, and just drove by there out of the blue. I was like, oh, a dispensary. That's a great place to collect signatures. You know, patients are there. They'll know about the benefits of growing plants again, growing their own medicine again. So anyway, I went in and sat, talked to the front desk, and Told them I was here to collect signatures, which initiative they wanted to know. I said AZFMR, and a lot of fake smiles, and hold on, we'll get somebody out here. It took quite a bit of time. I know it was unreasonable amount of time, but I was patient and waited for a young man. He came out and smiling and, I don't know. I just felt like he was thinking, why are you here, lady? I mean, he knew why I was there. I knew why I was there, but, I just figured I'd go through this diplomatically and just make them tell me that what he told me. We've donated quite a bit of money to this MPP initiative, and this is the only initiative we're supporting. No, you cannot collect signatures here, so you have to leave. Okay, well, I know that I can go to public property and do the same thing, so I went ahead and first I was made to leave the parking lot, so I had to leave the parking lot, go across the street, then cart everything back across the street. Brought my table, all my stuff, and several trips, set it all up. Got quite a few signatures, I thought, for the little time. I did, it was, people were walking by and they wanted to hear about it, and then people driving in. I was making sure that they saw, but I was trying to just let people know we got 2 competing initiatives, guys, make sure you sign the right one. The right one is not being offered inside your dispensary. You want to sign an initiative that's going to be right for Arizona, not the one that the citizens will reject. People are hip to it now. Ohio was the testing ground for it. Oregon, I think, did the same thing. They rejected, an initiative. Well, Maine is a good story because MPP decided to go with the citizens who were trying to do the right thing for their state. We as Arizonans know what's right for our state. We see the injustice that goes on with our laws not being decriminalized, with pot not being decriminalized. And this is a big deal to us. It always has been. And we know our legislators don't give a flying crap about that. They're all into the prison industrial complex. So it was up to us to make this happen for our citizens. So, Maine, the same thing. I have to say Maine was a step ahead of us. I mean, Maine did what I wanted us to do. I have to say that. I told you so. But I knew that MPP, they were the ones that brought us the 25-mile rule. They were not going to try and do what's right for the citizens of Arizona. They were more interested in what's right for their profits and their pocketbooks. I mean, they've shown it time and time again. And the 25-mile rule, they could have spoken up and said, oh, no, that's not what this meant. This is what this meant. We want our patients to be protected and be able to grow their own medicine. That seems like almost a God-given right, doesn't it?
Right.
But, that's my story.
And we are back. Welcome back, everyone. So, basically, I thought that they had actually violated her First Amendment, but they actually just annoyed her and pestered her until she left. They didn't actually physically remove her. However, that's pretty jacked up. One dispensary is giving us water, one dispensary is kicking us out, and one dispensary is bugging us and talking and telling the customers not to go talk to us like we're some sort of villains. We're all trying to get cannabis legalization on the 2016 election ballot, and this is kind of a point of view that I want some MPP supporters to understand, is that the Marijuana Policy Project does not need the community. They do not need the activists to make the ballot. They're going to make the ballot anyways. And even the MPP admits their law is overly restrictive and they don't necessarily like it, but their investors are the ones that have the say in the language, and so they're slaves to the highest bidder, and that's why their initiative sucks and they're putting it in. The MPP doesn't really like it, but they have to do it because that's what they got paid to do. Okay, keeping that in mind, they're gonna make the ballot, and we all know the Arizona citizens deserve something better. So if you have something that's gonna make the ballot, but you also have Arizona Citizens for Mindful Regulation with something so much better, with real potential to make the ballot, doesn't it make sense to just be like, okay, MPP, you're gonna make the ballot, but let's all support the Citizens Initiative because we know that that's the one that's far superior, and we know that that's gonna give the citizens the freedoms they deserve. That's what we need to do. The people that are out there supporting MPP only should support MPP and Arizonans for mindful regulation. Now, granted, it can't go the other way, because the people who only support Arizonans for mindful regulation understand that the MPP's initiative is actually detrimental to the welfare of Arizona citizens. We're going to see an increase of arrests and sales and cultivation, and people are going to be going to jail for longer periods of time. It's going to feed the Arizona prison industrial complex. That's not legalization. That's some sort of perverted kind of legalization that's feeding the wrong kind of people. So support Arizonans for mindful regulation, even if you support the MPP. And if you see us out there collecting signatures, you don't got to kick us off your property. Understand that even people in the MPP understand that our initiative is superior. It's just that they didn't believe that we had the potential to make the ballot, so they didn't want to support us. But look at this. We've got 50,000 signatures. They've got 110,000 signatures. That's over the amount we already need to get on the 2016 election ballot. We only need 153,000. So if MPP had supported us from the beginning like we tried to do, we probably already would have made the ballot by now and would have just been getting surplus signatures right now. And that's what would have happened. But, they didn't have any faith in the people, and so they wanted to sell out to the highest bidder. So that's what's going on. Arizona Citizens for Mindful Regulation, AZFMR.com, legalize marijuana in Arizona.org. We need your help to get on the Arizona 2016 election ballot. So please volunteer. Please make a campaign contribution at legalizemarijuanainarizona.org. Please come down to Jimmy John's restaurant every Sunday and become a volunteer. It's a pretty awesome thing we got going on. Jerry's Restaurant, not Jimmy John's Restaurant. Jerry's Restaurant, 2323 East Thomas Road, every Sunday, 1 to 3 p.m. It's where we train our volunteers on how to collect a proper signature, and we distribute petitions. We can also come out and give you petitions if you contact our campaign managers, Jason Madar, Jason Hine. But these meetings are really cool to come to. So come to our meetings. Come to the Phoenix Cannabis Coalition meeting. It's the first Wednesday of every month at the Firehouse Gallery in downtown Phoenix. Become a cannabis legalization activist, and help us out. We need to get this done. Cannabis is not going to legalize itself, and we need your help to get it done. So this was the Safer Dave Show at SaferArizona.com. Till next time, find more information at SaferArizona.com. Thank you.
Is there anything else you want to say? You're very well spoken. Is there anything else you wanted to get out there?
Yeah, I also want to thank Fox 10 News. Apparently, my mom said, hi Mom, she said you guys shared my viral YouTube video. It was called Stone Guy Films Monster Grasshopper Get Eaten. And apparently it was on Huffington Post and YouTube. I got it 6 days ago. I filmed it, and in 1 week it got 400,000 views. Now, there's a company who's paying us for advertisement, and all the money that's going from the advertisement is going back in the Safe Arizona 2016 legalization campaign. So if you watch that video and click on the ads, you're supporting the Arizona cannabis legalization movement.
Free the weed!
Free the
weed!
Woo! It's called Stone Guy Films Monster Grasshopper Get Eaten.